everyone, and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial, we're going to learn how to crochet step by step a women's vest. I'm crocheting for a size medium large, and I used about 4.5 skeins of the yarn that we're going to see in a second. This is a very simple project to do. We are going to see how to work the decreases for the sleeves. We're going to see how to work the decreases for the V opening. And what I want to mention, because I know many of you do not watch all of the video thoroughly and you miss many important information, is that you can crochet this vest for any size. You can make it for women, children, or men. Of course, you're going to use a different yarn and not this one with the glitter on it. Okay. The only difference is that when you crochet for children's size, I have worked a total of 4 rows of decreases. For children's size, you're going to work 3 rows of decreases, and you're going to see how to do it as I go through the video and as I go through the decreases for the sleeves. Okay, so now let's see the material that I'm going to use and how to start. Now let's see the material that I'm going to use. And I'm going to crochet with the yarn that's called Crystal Olivine. It's 25% sim, 75% polyester. It's 100 grams and 220 meters each skein. And I'm going to crochet with a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now before we start, I want to show a way on how to adjust on your size, because on many of the videos that I have uploaded, the most frequent question is how many chains to start for size large, size medium, and so on. Okay, so what you always need to do in order to adjust, you need to make a sample, your gauge, that's 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters or 4 by 4 inches. Okay, it's the same thing. So what I have done over here, I have made my sample, which is 10 centimeters wide times 10 centimeters long. Now, in order to have a width of 10 centimeters, I needed a total of 14 stitches. And in order to have a total of 10 centimeters long, I needed a total of 18 rows. Okay, so I have a square that's 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Now the next step is to take measurements of your body. I usually say that we need to take measurements of our chest because it's the widest part, but when I took measurements of my chest and I started crocheting my piece, it came out very wide because the chest area is the widest area in my body. So I took a measurement of my waist, and the measurement is 93 centimeters. Though this is the perimeter, the circumference of my waist. Okay, so take your measuring tape and measure it. And because this is the circumference, what I need to do is I want to divide this piece by 2, because I want to know how wide each piece of my vest is going to be. So the result is 46.5, and I'm going to round up to 47 centimeters. Okay. So I know that each of the piece of my vest needs to be 47 centimeters, and I know that in order to have a 10 centimeter wide piece, I need 14 stitches. So let's see how to calculate. I am going to multiply the 47 centimeters that I need by 14 stitches. And the results that I'm going to get from this multiplication, I'm going to divide it by 10. Which is the width of the piece. Okay, and the result is 65.8 stitches, which I'm going to round up to 66. So I need a piece that starts with a total of 66 stitches in order to get this width over here. Okay, so let's start, and I'm going to show a new way on how to start your piece. Because when we're crocheting a piece of, when we're crocheting clothes like sweaters or vests, and we're starting from the bottom to the top, we usually start with the regular chain, and because the chain does not stretch, the bottom piece of our work might be tighter than the rest of it. So what I'm going to show now is a foundation chain on how to start that's stretchy, and it does not get tight as you work the beginning piece of your work. So we are going to start with 2 chains. Firstly, make your beginning knot and start with 2 chains. 1, 2. Skip the first chain and put your hook in the second one. Okay, grab the yarn, pull it through the chain, and I have 2 loops. Grab the yarn, pull through the first loop, grab the yarn, pull through the 2 loops that are left over to close it together. Now what I want to do every time in order to start the second stitch, I need to take my crochet hook right here on the left side on the chain that was created when I had the 2 loops on my hook, and I took the yarn and I took it through the first loop. A chain was created and I want to grab the 2 loops of that chain. Okay, so take your hook, let me pull this loop over here so it doesn't frog. So take your hook right here on the left side to the bottom and take it through and through to grab the 2 loops over here. Okay, right over here, through and through. So take the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and I'm going to follow the same process. Grab the yarn, pull it through the first loop. So the loops are created when I work this chain. This is where you're taking your crochet hook through when you want to start the new stitch. Okay, and grab the yarn and close the next 2 loops together. Now again, take your crochet hook right here on the left side on the bottom of the stitch to grab the 2 loops. So take your hook through and through to grab those 2 loops, the outside ones. So grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first loop. So this is like you're working a chain. So this is where you're taking your hook through in order to start the new stitch. Okay, so take it through the first loop. Now grab the yarn and close the last 2 loops together. So we have worked 3 stitches at this point. It's very easy to count 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's work another one together. Again, put your hook on the bottom of the stitch to grab the 2 outside loops. Take it through and through. Grab the yarn, pull through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first loop, grab the yarn, pull through the last 2 loops. Again, put your hook in the bottom of the stitch, grab the 2 outside loops. So take your hook through and through, grab the yarn, pull through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first loop, grab the yarn, pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, so far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. What I need a total of 66 stitches. Okay, since the result from the equation that I made was a total of 66 stitches, so I have made 5 foundation chains. I need to do 61 more. So when I have my 66 chains, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start row number 1. I have worked my foundation chain. Now I have started with only 30 chains because I have already worked my pieces. I only want to show how to work the foundation chain and how to start crocheting on top of it. So what I forgot to mention before I turned my video, when I was talking about the sample and everything, the sample, I have also started it with the foundation chain. If you do not know how to work the foundation chain and you want to work the regular chain, you need to work your sample with a regular chain as well. Okay, so the good thing with the foundation chain is that the total number of stitches that you work, no matter if you want to start with single crochet or have double crochet or whatever, you do not need to work extra chains on your beginning chain. Okay, on your foundation chain. If you need 66 stitches, you're going to start with 66 foundation chains. So let's say I have my 66, I have only worked 30 on this foundation chain, and it's very important to have steady tension as you work through so all your stitches are alike. So in order to start row number 1, I am going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work. Starting from the first stitch right over here, I'm going to work my first single crochet. And the stitches are nice and visible. Okay, next stitch right over here. So you see that you have the 2 loops on top of your hook as if you're crocheting on single crochet. And work your single crochet. Next stitch. 3, next one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch up until the end. I have worked 29 stitches and I want to work the last stitch together. Okay, it's this one right over here. So I have 30 stitches. Okay, so let's say that these are my 66 that I need to start my piece. So in order to start the next row, and this is how all the rows are going to begin. Okay, so from here on you're going to be starting in the same exact way that we're going to do right now. Always work a chain 1 and turn your work. Start by crocheting from the first stitch a total of 66 stitches in every row. So 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do want to have 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Once I finish the row, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch, and if you're going to use a similar yarn, make sure you count your stitches in every row, because it has the eyelashes over here, it might be difficult to count, especially in the end, okay, and you might miss the last stitch, so you always make sure you count your stitches. Now, the reason that I start with a foundation chain is because look at how stretchy the project is. Well, the yarn is kind of stretchy by itself, but the foundation chain in the end makes it stretchy as well. In the beginning, sorry, makes it stretchy as well. So now you need to take a measurement from where you want the vest to start up until under your arm. So I want my vest to start from the belt, and I'm going to measure through under my arm. So I need the piece that I have started with 66 foundation chains to be as long as the measurement that I took from the belt to under my arm. Okay, so keep crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch up until you reach that length. I have completed crocheting my piece, and I have started with my 66 foundation chains. I have worked a total of 77 rows, and the total length of my piece is 37 centimeters. So I have a 37 centimeter piece, 37 centimeters, and I have worked a total of 77 rows. Now, I have attached stitch markers, so I know until which point I was working 1 stitch in every stitch. So this will help me when I join the 2 pieces together, so I'm not trying to look in the end where I started the decreases and so on. So I'm going to leave those stitch markers over here because the yarn is with eyelashes, so it's difficult in the end to try and find the rows where you were working before the decreases. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and the decreases that we're going to work to make the sleeve, you're going to apply to every size that you're going to crochet. Okay, the same exact decreases. Only if you make a children's size, you can work 1 less row of decreases. But this is how you're going to work for all sizes. So I'm taking out the stitch marker. After the last single crochet, I'm going to work one chain and I'm going to turn my work. Now in the first row of decreases, I'm going to single crochet together the first 3 stitches and the last 3 stitches of the row. This means that in the end of the row, I'm going to have 4 less stitches. So from the 66 single crochet, I'm going to be left with only 62. Now, pay close attention. When we work the decreases in the beginning of the row, instead of working all 3 stitches together, because we're going to have a little, it's going to seem like a step. If I put my hook from the first stitch, instead of working, I'm going to start working from the second single crochet, although the first stitch that I'm skipping, I'm counting as the first stitch of decreases. So 1, put your hook in the second stitch, 2 and hold the loop, and then in the third stitch and hold the loop. Now close all 3 loops together. So we just closed the 3 first stitches together. Now keep working 1 single crochet in every stitch, and this now the decrease counted as 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting up until you're left with the last 3 stitches of the row. 1, 2, 3. I'm almost done with my row. I have a total of 61 stitches at this point, and now I'm going to crochet the last 3 single crochet together. So put your hook in the first one, in the first one, hold the loop, in the second one and hold the loop, and in the third, which is the last one, and hold the loop. I have 4 loops on my hook, which I'm going to close together to form 1 stitch. Okay, I'm going to adjust the the stitch marker where it was, and on the other side as well, so I don't miss the rows. So this was the first row of decreases. Now we're going to start the second row, and I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. In the second row, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across for a total of 62 stitches, starting from the first stitch over here, which is the decreased stitch. 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and keep working 1 single crochet across for 62 stitches in the end. I worked my 62 single crochet, and now we're going to start the second row of decreases. We worked the first one, second row we worked 1 stitch in every stitch. Now we're going to start the second row of decreases. Again, chain 1 and turn your work, and we're going to decrease in the same exact way. We're going to work 3 single crochet together. So the first stitch, in which I'm not going to put my hook into, the second stitch and hold the loop, and the third stitch and hold the loop. We have 3 loops which we're going to close together to count as 1 stitch. So 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you're left with the last 3 stitches of the row. 1, 2, 3. And in the previous row we had 62 stitches. Now we're subtracting 4 more, so I'm going to be left with 58 stitches in the end of the row. I am almost done with my row. I have a total of 57 stitches at this point. Now I'm going to crochet the last 3 stitches together to form a decrease. So put your hook in the first stitch and hold the loop, second stitch, hold the loop, and the third stitch and hold the loop. I have 4 loops which I'm going to crochet together. So I have 58 stitches, and this was the 80th row of my work. I'm going to turn my work to start the 81st row. So after the row of decrease, again I'm going to work 1 row with 1 single crochet across for a total of 58 stitches, starting from the first stitch, 1, Next one, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting for a total of 58 stitches. I've worked my 58 stitches. Now we're going to start row 82, which will be the third row of decreases. And if you're crocheting a children's size vest, this row you're going to skip. Okay, so starting, I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work. Again, I'm going to crochet the first 3 single crochet together. So the first one, which I never stitch, the second one, and hold the loop, and the third one, and hold the loop. Now close all the 3 stitches together, the 3 loops together to form the first stitch. Now keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to work the last 3 stitches together. And in the end of this row, we're going to have a total of 54 single crochet. I've reached the point to make my decrease. Okay, I have 53 single crochet at this point, and now I'm going to crochet the last 3 single crochet together. First one, hold the loop, second one, hold the loop, and the third one, and hold the loop. I have 4 loops which I'm going to close together to form 1 stitch. So I have 54 single crochet, chain 1, turn your work, and look how nice my decreases look. Okay, now we're going to start row 83, where again we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 54 single crochet, starting from the first stitch, 1 and 1 single crochet across for a total of 54 stitches. I worked my 54 single crochet. Now we're going to start row number 84, which will be the last row of decreases. And if you're crocheting for a children's size, this is the last row of decreases as well. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now in this row, instead of closing 3 single crochet together, we are only going to crochet 2. Okay, so we're going to close the first and second stitches together. But as always, we never crochet in the first stitch, so put your hook in the second stitch and just work a single crochet. And this was my decrease. Now work 1 single crochet across and leave the last 2 stitches, 1, 2, to form the last decrease of the row. So in row number 84, we're going to be left with 52 single crochet. I'm almost done. I have 51 single crochet at this point, and I'm going to work the last 2 stitches together. So 1, hold the loop, 2, hold the loop. I have 3 loops which I'm going to close together to form the last stitch, chain 1 and turn your work. So this was the last row of decreases. From here on, I'm not going to work any more decreases. Okay. And what we need to do now is you need to take a measurement. You're going to measure from under your arm up until your shoulder, where the seam of your shirt is at. Okay, and this will be the arm opening for the sleeve opening. Okay, so my arm opening is a total of 22 centimeters. So what I'm going to do now, from here on, I'm going to be working 1 single crochet in every stitch. So in every row, I'm going to be having 52 single crochet. And from here, from where I started my decreases, up until here, I'm going to be crocheting now 1 single crochet in every stitch, up until I reach the 22 centimeters. And this is the back of our vest. Once I finish working the back of my vest, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the decreases for the front to work a V opening. I have completed crocheting the back part of my vest, and it's very important that you write down all the rows that you do and what, the rows of decreases, how many rows in total, and so on. Okay, it's very important to write down what you do in each row. Now, after the last row of decreases where we crocheted together the first 2 and the last 2 stitches of the row, I have worked 1 stitch in every stitch for a total of 35 rows. Okay, so after the last decrease, I have worked an extra 35 rows. What this means that when you crochet the front part of the vest, you need to have the same number of rows after the stitch markers. If you recall, we attached the stitch markers on the piece up until before we started crocheting the decreases. Okay, so it's very important to have the same amounts of rows on the back and on the front, and to work on the armholes, to work the decreases on the armholes in the same exact spot as you did on the back piece of the vest. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to start the front piece, but before we do that, in order to close the back piece, after your last single crochet, chain 1, cut the yarn and fasten off. Now we're going to work the front piece, and I'm going to start in the same exact way as I did the back piece. Work 1 single crochet in every stitch as we did on this piece over here, the back piece of our vest, up until the stitch markers. Okay, so you need to have the same amounts of stitches to begin with and the same amount of rows up until the spot where we attach the stitch markers, where we were working 1 single crochet in every stitch. Once I finish crocheting my piece, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the decreases again on the sleeve and how to create a nice V opening on the front. I've worked my front piece again with a total of 66 stitches and 77 rows, the same exact stitches and rows that I had on the back piece before I started the decreases. Now, when we want to work a V opening, first we separate the stitches and we work the right side, and then we work the left side. And if you have an even number of stitches, as I do, I have 66 stitches, so that's an even number, we're going to separate the 33 on the one side and the 33 on the other side. If you have an odd number of stitches, let's say you had 67, you would separate again 33 on the one side, 33 on the other side, and you would leave the center stitch uncrocheted. You will not crochet on the center stitch. And then that little gap that will be created in the center will be fixed in the end when we crochet around the V opening to straighten up the edges. Okay, so I again have put my stitch markers over here so I know where, up until which row I was crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch. And now we're going to start crocheting for the decreases. So what I'm going to do, when you count to separate your stitches, you want to work your chain and turn the work. You want to count the stitches on the side that you would turn to start crocheting. If you count them on the other side, your count will come out wrong. So I'm going to count my 33 stitches now. So from the first stitch up until the stitch marker, I'm going to crochet for the right side of the vest, and then we're going to work the left side separately. So as we did earlier, as we did on the back side, first I'm going to crochet together the first 3 stitches, and I'm going to crochet together the last 3 stitches for the V opening, and this is going to give a nice quick opening on the V part, so it looks nice. Okay, and then in the center I'm going to have a total of 27 stitches in which I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch, because I have 33 stitches. 3 I'm going to crochet together in the beginning, 3 in the end. I have a total of 6 stitches and 27 in the center. Okay, so let me zoom in so it's more visible what I'm doing. Okay, so as we did on the back, when we work the decreases on the beginning of the row, we always skip the first stitch. So chain 1 this is your first stitch in which we're not going to crochet into. Work the second and the third stitch together. We have 3 loops which we're going to close together. Okay, so this was my first stitch. Now in the center I will have a total of 27 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting up until you have your 27, and I'm going to turn my video back on to work the decrease together. I have worked my 27 single crochet after the decrease, and I'm left with the last 3 stitches of the row which we're going to crochet together. I am not going to take out the stitch marker because it's going to help me to find where to start my decreases on the left side of the V. Okay, so your first stitch and hold the loop, put your hook in the second stitch and hold the loop, put your hook in the third stitch and hold the loop. We have crocheted in 3 stitches with 4 loops which we're going to close together as 1 stitch. So this was the first row of decreases. Now in the second row I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. So from this decrease I'm left with 1 stitch, and from this decrease I'm left with 1 stitch as well. So I have 27, 28 and 29. So I'm going to work the second row with 29 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, starting from the first stitch which was the decrease right over here. 1, 2, 3, and keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch across. I've worked my second row with only 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now we're going to start the third row in which we're going to work decreases. Now, what's important to remember is that when we work decreases on the sleeve part, we're working decreases in every second row. When we are working decreases on the V opening, we are working decreases in every third row. Okay, so in the first rows up until we finish the decreases on the sleeve part, it's going to be kind of confusing, so please write down all the information, all the steps that you're doing. These steps apply the beginning and the end how I'm working in all sizes of all vests that you're going to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work a decrease in the beginning of the row. I'm going to work the first 3 stitches together, and then I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch for the next 26 stitches. Okay, so here's where we worked a decrease for the V opening. I'm going to work for the end part 1 single crochet in every stitch. On the second row I'm only working on the beginning, so in the end I have 1 stitch in every stitch. So in the next row I'm going to work a decrease on the sleeve, on the V opening, sorry. Okay, so after the decrease, in every third stitch, in every third row, I'm going to be working a decrease for the V opening. After the decrease, I'm going to be working a decrease in every second row for the sleeve. Okay, it's kind of confusing, but it's very important. Once you write down the steps that you're doing, you'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and starting from the first stitch, I'm going to work a decrease, the first 3 stitches together. First, I'm skipping, but I'm counting as one of the 3. Okay, so 1, second stitch, and hold the loop, third stitch, and hold the loop. I have 3 loops, which I'm going to close together. Now I'm going to start crocheting from the next stitch, 1 single crochet in every stitch for the next 26 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you have, your 26 stitches. Okay, so keep crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch across in order to have a total of 26 stitches. I've worked my 26 stitches, and now we're gonna start row number 4. Now what we're gonna do here is we're not gonna work a decrease on the sleeve because we just did on the row that we just finished. In the new row, I'm only gonna work a decrease on the V opening, because if you recall, we said after the decrease, I'm gonna work a decrease again on the third row. 1, 2, 3. And since on the previous row, because I worked 26 stitches and the decrease, this decrease over here gives me 1 stitch. This means that I have a total of 27 stitches. So since I'm using the 2 for the decrease, I have 25 stitches to work after that. So we're going to begin the new row by chaining 1 and turn your work. And we want to work a decrease on the first 2 stitches. Now this is the first stitch in which I'm not going to crochet into, and I'm just going to put my hook on the second stitch and work 1 single crochet. Now after this stitch, I need 25 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you have your 25 stitches. I have completed the 4th row of decreases, and I have put in parentheses the stitches that I have left in every row. Now it's very important to remember that the same exact steps on the same exact rows that I'm working my decreases, okay, the same exact rule applies to every size that you crochet. Okay, the stitches in the center are the ones that are going to change, and the total number of stitches that you will be having in every row. Other than that, in the rows that I'm working the decreases for the V opening and for the sleeve, in the same rows you're going to work the decreases on your vest as well. So now we're going to start row number 5, and because we worked a decrease over here for the sleeve, it's time to work a decrease on the sleeve as well. Again, sorry. So I will have 3 stitches that I'm going to decrease together in the beginning. And because I had 26 stitches in total in the previous row, and from those 26 I'm using the 3 for the decrease, I will have 23 stitches after that. So I'm going to start row number 5 with 1 chain, and I'm going to turn my work. I want to single crochet the first 3 stitches together. 1, second stitch, put your hook into and hold the loop, third stitch and hold the loop. I have 3 loops which I'm going to close together as 1 stitch. So after the decrease, I need 23 more single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and keep crocheting across for 20 more stitches. I crocheted the 5th row, and what we did is we worked a decrease and 23 stitches. So in the end of this row we have a total of 24 single crochet. 1 that's left over from the decrease plus 23, we have a total of 24 stitches. Now in the 6th row we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch, because we just worked in the previous row the decrease on the sleeve, so we don't want to work any decreases on the sleeve in this row. And for the V opening, we worked a decrease on the previous row. So after this row, we said that we need 2 rows with 1 stitch in every stitch. 1, 2, okay. And on the 3rd row, I'm gonna work a decrease on the V opening again. So in this row, we're gonna have a total of 24 single crochet. So chain 1, turn your work, starting from the first single crochet, 1, next stitch 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting for a total of 24 single crochet across. I've completed the 6th row with 1 single crochet in every stitch. Now we're going to start row number 7. Now row number 7 is going to be the last row of decreases for the sleeve, because if you recall, on the back piece we worked 3, 3, 3 and then 2 decreases, okay? And it's time to work a decrease for the V opening as well, because we mentioned that we need a decrease in every third row. See, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is the row that we're going to start now. And again, we're going to decrease 2 stitches. So out of the total 24, I'm using 2 for the decrease on the sleeve, plus 2 for the V opening. I have a total of 4 stitches worked on the decreases. So in the center, I'm going to have 20 single crochet. And from here on, after this row, we are only going to be working decreases for the V opening. So chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to crochet together, single crochet together the first 2 stitches. So the first I skip and I put my hook in the second stitch and work a single crochet. So this is a decrease. In the center I need 20 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and keep crocheting up until we have 20 stitches. Then I'm going to turn my video to work the decrease together. I worked my 20 single crochet in the center, so I'm left with the last 2 stitches which we're going to crochet together. So the first stitch and hold the loop, the second stitch and hold the loop. We have 3 loops which we're going to close together as 1 stitch. So this was my 7th row, in which I'm left with 22 stitches, 20, 21, 22. From here on, we are done crocheting the decreases for the sleeve. I worked in the same exact rows, the same exact decreases for the sleeve as I did on the back part. Now from here on, we are only going to be working decreases for the V opening. So now we're going to start row number 8, in which we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. Then off camera, we're going to work row number 9 with 22 single crochet in every stitch. And in row number 10, in which I'm going to work a decrease for the V opening, I'm going to turn my video back on, where I'm going to work 2 stitches together. And in the center, I'm going to have 20 single crochet, and I'm going to be left with 21 stitches. So we're going to start together row 8, off camera row number 9, and together I'm going to turn the video back on in row number 10. So I am chaining 1 and turn your work. Starting from the first stitch, 1, next stitch, 2, 3, and keep crocheting for a total of 22 stitches. This is row number 8. Then I'm going to work off camera row number 9, and I'm going to turn the video back on to start together row number 10. I completed working the 2 rows of camera, row 8 and row 9, and now we're going to start row 10 together, in which we mentioned that we're going to work a decrease on the V opening. So chain 1 and turn your work. And we're going to crochet together the first 2 stitches. So the first one skip and put your hook in the second stitch and work 1 single crochet. Now after the decrease, I need 20 more single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Chain 1 and turn your work. So now from here on we're going to work off camera, and I'm going to explain what we're going to do. Now it's very important to remember that we are working decreases from now on only in every third row and only on the V opening. It doesn't matter if the decrease comes in the beginning or it comes in the end. Okay, if it's in the beginning, you always skip the first stitch and crochet in the second. If it comes in the end, you close together the last 2 stitches. Now, in row 11, we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch, so we're going to have 21 stitches. In row number 12, we're going to have 21 stitches again. So this is first, second, and in the third row, we're going to work a decrease. So I'm going to single crochet together 2 stitches for the V opening. So I'm going to have 19 stitches in the center. In the end of that row, we're going to have 20 single crochet. So for the next 2 rows, you're going to be working 20 single crochet, 20 here and 20 here. In the next row, which is the third row, 1, 2, 3, we're going to work the decrease again. So we're going to single crochet together 2 stitches for the V opening, so we're going to have left 18 stitches in the center. So in the end of that row, you're going to have 19 stitches. So for row 17, we're going to have 19 stitches. For row 18, we're going to have 19 stitches. And in row 19, we're going to work the decrease again. So what's very important to remember is that if on the back piece, now this is a very, very serious information. So if after we started working the decreases on the back part, after row 1 of the decreases, up until the end we had a total of, let's say, 40 rows. This means that after the first, counting from the first row of decreases up until the end, you need 40 rows on the front piece as well. This is why we always write down what rows that we work, and we always want the back piece to be going together with the front piece. Okay, so we need to have the same exact number of rows after the decreases as we did on the back part. So I'm going to keep working my decreases up until I have the same number of rows. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how the right side looks, and then we're going to start the left side. So these rules apply to any size that you crochet, even if it's for children's or adult size, and you're going to be working the decreases in the same exact rows. The only difference is going to be, the only difference is going to be on the stitches that we're going to have in the center. Okay, so keep crocheting off camera, and once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have completed crocheting the right side of my V opening, and this is how it looks like. Look how nice and symmetrical the decreases have been made, because we were working a decrease in every third row for the V opening. Now, for every size that you're going to crochet, the ending is going to be different than mine. The last 2 rows of my project are the second before last was a row of decrease, and the last row was a row with which I worked 1 single crochet in every stitch. The total number of rows from the beginning up to the last row of the V opening are equal to the total rows of the back piece that I made for the vest. And the ending stitches that I had in the last row were 11 stitches, 11 single crochet, but again, depending on the size that you're going to crochet, your stitches may differ as well. Okay, so once you have finished, the last thing that you're going to do on this side is to chain 1, cut the yarn, and fasten off. So this is the right side completed. Now we are going to start the left side And it's very important to know that because you started crocheting the decreases on this side from the right going to the left, we have to continue working in the same side of our piece, because if you turn your work and you start working from the outside through the inside, all the rows that are on the good side, on the right side of the piece, are going to be on the wrong side, on the left side of your piece. So they are going to be opposite. Okay, so we do want to start crocheting on the same direction we were crocheting starting from the right side of our project. So we are going to start crocheting from the center going to the outside. So let me zoom in so we can start. So I am going to start crocheting from the stitch that's right after the stitch marker, because in the stitch marker, if you recall, we crocheted the last stitch for the decrease for the right side. So this is why I kept it, so I know where to start. I'm starting on the stitch that's right after it, and I'm going to attach my yarn, and I'm going to chain one. So we are going to follow the same exact steps. We're going to work the same exact decreases that we did on the right side. I'm working the decreases in the same exact rows. So what did we do in the first row of decreases on the right side? We single crocheted together the first 3 stitches and the last 3 stitches of the row. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side as well. So I usually, when I attach a new yarn, I chain one and I single crochet in the same stitch. But because this is a decrease, worker chain one, and this is the first stitch that I'm decreasing, but I'm not going to work a single crochet in here. Put your hook in the second stitch and hold the loop, then in the third stitch and hold the loop, and we have 3 loops which we're going to crochet together. Now in the center we do want to work a total of 27 single crochet across. 1, sorry, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep crocheting up until you have your 27 and the last 3 stitches to crochet the last decrease. I've worked my 27 single crochet in the center, and I have the last 3 stitches left in which I'm going to single crochet them together. So put your hook in the first stitch and hold the loop, second stitch, hold the loop, third stitch and hold the loop. I worked in 3 stitches. I have 4 loops which I'm going to close together as 1 stitch. Chain 1 and turn your work. So what did we do in the second row? On the other side, we worked 1 single crochet in every stitch. So this is what we're going to do in the second row on this side as well. Starting from the first stitch, which was the stitch that you decreased in the previous row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep crocheting for a total of 29 stitches. I've worked 1 stitch in every stitch and I have a total of 29 single crochet. Now I'm going to zoom out because I'm going to give a few explanations and we're going to work this side off camera. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1 and turn your work. So what's very important to remember is that whatever we did in every single row on the right side, we do want to follow the same steps and decrease in the same rows in the left side as well. The only difference is that the stitches are opposite now, and what I mean by this is that in the third row of decreases on the right side, the first thing that we did is that we started by decreasing for the sleeve. On the left side, because we started from the center and we're going outwards, First, we're going to work one stitch in every stitch, and the decrease is going to be in the end of the row. So whatever you did on the right side, now it's opposite on the left side, but we do want to work the decreases on the same sides that we did and in the same exact rows. Okay, so in the third row we worked a decrease on the sleeve. I do want to do the same thing on the left side as well. I want to work a decrease on the sleeve. In the fourth row, I worked one stitch in every stitch and a decrease on the V-opening. The same thing I did on this side, the same thing I want to do on the left side as well. This is why we always write down the steps that we work on each side, on each row. It's very important because we do not, if I hadn't written down whatever I did on the right side, I would not know what to work on the left side of my piece. Okay, so whatever decreases I did on the right side, I want to follow the same decreases on the left side as well. Now, please keep in mind that if we have a decrease in the beginning of the row, if I want to decrease a total of 3 single crochet, I skip the first and crochet the next two, the second and the third. If we have a 2 single crochet decrease in the beginning of the row, I skip the first stitch, work a regular single crochet in the second, and keep crocheting the stitches in the center. If we have a decrease in the end of the row, if I have a 3 single crochet decrease, I work the last 3 stitches together. If I have a 2 single crochet decrease, I work the last 2 stitches together. Okay, so please keep in mind that we do want to work the same exact decreases on every row that we did on the right side of our V opening. So I'm going to work the left side of camera, and once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to sew the two pieces together, how to join. We're going to see how to work a few rows around the sleeves to straighten out the edges, and we're going to see how to work around the V opening to straighten out the edges as well, and then how to work a few rows of rib stitch in the end of our vest if we'd like. So keep working off camera. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on. I have finished crocheting the front piece of my vest, and this is the side that we did off camera. See that both sides are identical? This is how our vest, the front piece of our vest, we want to look like. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start joining our vest, and what we want to do is the bottom piece, we want it to be on its wrong side, and the wrong side of the piece is when the beginning yarn right over here is looking on the right side. Okay, so this is the wrong side, and then I want the piece on top of it, I want it to be on its front side, sorry. So I want the beginning yarn to be on the left side. So now we're going to join on the wrong side, on the inside of the vest. This is why we want the two pieces to be turned like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the side. I'm going to zoom in so you can see easier the steps that I'm doing. And because I had a total of 77 rows up until the stitch marker over here, where we placed the stitch marker right before we started decreasing, this means that I'm going to have a total of 77 slip stitches plus 1 slip stitch on the beginning foundation chain row. Okay, so I'm going to have a total of 78 slip stitches on my vest for my size. For your vest, if you have more rows, you will have more slip stitches. And what we want to do is in every row, we want to place our hook in the first single crochet of every row. So here's one, the next one, the next one. So everywhere you see the next hole, this is where you want to place your crochet hook, because that's the first single crochet of the row. Then the next one, here, here, then here, and we do want to grab the same row on the front and the same row on the back as well. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to place my crochet hook in the first foundation chain row, in the first stitch on the same row on the back. I am going to attach the yarn. So grab the yarn and take it through both stitches and chain one. Now I want to grab the first single crochet of the first row and then the first single crochet of the first row on the back piece and work a slip stitch. The first single crochet of the second row and the first single crochet of the second row on the back piece as well, and slip stitch. The first single crochet on the third row and on the back piece on the third row as well. Front piece in the fourth row, back piece in the fourth row as well, and slip stitch. Front piece on the fifth row, back piece on the fifth row as well, and slip stitch. The reason that I'm opening up my work is to see where I have crocheted previously, so I know where to put my hook next. Okay, so keep slip stitching. I'm going to keep slip stitching up until I have a total of 78 slip stitches. If you have more or less slip stitches, that means that you have made somewhere a mistake, so you need to frog and redo it all over. So I'm going to keep slip stitching up until the last stitch is in the stitch marker. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I've completed crocheting a total of 78 slip stitches up until my 2 stitch markers. Okay, so from the bottom to the top, this is how it looks like. Now, in order to finish this side, chain 1, cut the yarn and fasten off. So this is the one side completed, and if you open up your work to look at it on the good side, this is how it looks like, the joining with the slip stitches. From the bottom up until where we had our stitch markers. Now I'm going to turn on the same side again, on the side that we were doing our slip stitches, okay? And I'm going to bring up the other 2 sides that need to be joined together. So we're going to work this side off camera. We're going to start from the bottom in the same exact way, one slip stitch to join both sides in every row up until the stitch markers, where again I'm going to have a total of 78 slip stitches, the same amount of slip stitches that I had on the other side. Once I finish joining the other side, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to join up here on the shoulders. I've completed attaching both sides, and this is how my project looks from the bottom going to the top, and I'm still on the wrong side of the vest. What we're going to do now is we're going to join up here the shoulders, and we always start joining from the shoulder going to the inside, okay, from the shoulder to the neck. So what we're going to do now is, let me zoom in so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So I want to grab the first, now it's easy on this side over here because we are putting our hook in the stitches of the single crochet. So put your hook on the first single crochet on the front and the first single crochet on the back. And we're going to attach our yarn now. And when I finished, I forgot to mention that when I finished crocheting up here on the shoulder, I had a total of 11 single crochet for my size. Now, depending on the single crochet that you will have on the stitches that are left over here on the V opening, That's how many stitches, that's how many slip stitches you're going to join the two pieces together. So I had 11 stitches left here on the V opening, so I'm going to work 11 slip stitches to join. So grab the yarn and pull it through both stitches and work one chain. This was my first out of the 11 stitches. So 1, put your hook in the second stitch on the front, second stitch on the back, and slip stitch. 2. Okay, next stitch. 3. Next one. 4. Next one. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10, and my last stitch, 11. Chain 1, cut the yarn and fasten off. And this is how it looks like when we have joined the front piece with the back on the shoulder. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn our work like this to join the other side as well. The only difference is that on the front now I have the back piece, and on the back I have the front piece, but that's okay since I know from the other side that I need a total of 11 stitches. I'm going to work a total of 11 stitches over here as well. So grab the first stitch on your front piece and the first stitch on the back piece, and this will be your first stitch, and keep slip stitching up until you have 11 stitches again. Once I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet around the armhole and around the V opening. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and crochet 2 rows of the rib stitch on each sleeve. I have worked the first one off camera, and this is how nice and perfect your sleeve is going to look like. So let's start the other one. And what I want to do is I want to start right here on the scheme that was created when I was joining with the slip stitches. Okay, so right here under the arm I want to join my yarn. So put your hook under here on the slip stitches that we were crocheting, and let me zoom in so we can see easier the steps that I'm going to be working. So grab the yarn to join, okay, take it through the stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now those 3 chains count as a double crochet, but I will not count it as one of the total double crochet because I just worked it on the scheme. So what I really did is I just added an extra double crochet all around just by joining the yarn. Okay, so chain 3, and what I want to do now is I want to be putting my hook in the first single crochet of every row as we did earlier. Okay, in the first single crochet of every row, and because we're crocheting on each stitch, we want our double crochet to fall one next to each other. Now if you have a big gap, let's say you have a gap like this means you're crocheting too far away. Okay, we want each stitch to fall next to each other. Or if you have like a peak like result, that means you're crocheting too many stitches close together. So make sure you're crocheting 1 stitch in every stitch, starting from the first one over here. 1, next stitch, 2, next one, 3, next one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Okay, now work one stitch right in the center of the skein, right over here, and now keep working one double crochet going downwards. Now I have reached the skein right over here on the shoulder. Okay, and now we're going to start working one double crochet in every stitch going downwards. And since I had 44 stitches before the one that I worked on the skein, I need 44 stitches going downwards as well. Once I finish crocheting my 44 stitches, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue with the second row. I have completed crocheting all around. I had 44 stitches going downwards as well. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my hook in the first double crochet for this row, which was the chain 3. So put your hook in that third chain and work a slip stitch. Now we're going to start the second and last row. Okay, so I'm working my slip stitch. Now we're going to start the second and last row by chaining 2, and we're going to work a rib stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to be working front posts and back posts. So the first stitch is this one over here, and we're going to work a front post double crochet. So put your hook from the front to the back on the right side of the stitch and bring it out on the front again, so you're pulling outwards the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it under the stitch, and now work a double crochet. So grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, and grab the yarn through the last 2 loops. This is the second stitch over here in which I'm going to work a back post double crochet. So I want to put my hook from the back to the front on the right side of the stitch and bring it out on the back again on the left side, so we're pulling backwards the stitch. Grab the yarn, pull through under the stitch, grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, grab the yarn, pull through the last 2 loops. Grab the yarn. Now in the next stitch we are going to work a front post double crochet. So this is the stitch. Put your hook from the front to the back on the right side, bring it out on the front again on the left side. We're pulling outwards and we're going to work a double crochet. Yarn over once. This is the next stitch over here in which we are going to work a back post. So put your hook from the back to the front on the right side, bring it out on the back again on the left side, and work a double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. So put your hook from the front to the back on the right side, bring it out on the front again on the left side, and work a double crochet. So keep working one front post, one back post all around your sleeve. Once I reach the end over here on the last stitch, and it'll either be a front post or a back post depending if your stitches are an odd number or an even number. Okay, once I crochet on my last stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how the sleeve looks completed. I've worked my front posts and back posts all around. My last stitch was a back post double crochet. Put your hook on the first stitch, which was the 2 chains. So put your hook on that second chain counting from the bottom. Work a slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So this is what we have as a result so far. Okay, we have our sleeves, and look how nice they look. Now go ahead and work the other sleeve off camera, and now we're going to start working all around the V opening, and we're going to create on the V opening as well the same thing as we did over here. We're going to work 2 rows of the rib stitch. We've completed crocheting both of our sleeves, and this is how our project looks like at this point, our vest. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start crocheting around the V opening, and we're going to start back here, but we want to start, going to turn on the back side, and we're going to attach our yarn somewhere in the center over here of the back side. Doesn't matter exactly which stitch. Okay, so we want to attach somewhere in the center. So put your hook in one of the stitches, attach the yarn, so take it through the stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to be going a little fast up until the scheme over here, because we're crocheting 1 double crochet in each of the single crochet of the row. Okay, so 1, my first double crochet is my chain 3, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, the 18th, 18. Okay, the 18th stitch is on the right side of the scheme of the shoulder. So this is where I'm at this point. On the right side of the scheme, work 1 double crochet right on the scheme over here. And now we're starting to go downwards on the V opening. This is where I have crocheted my last stitch. Now we're going to start going downwards, and we're going to do the same exact thing that we were doing so far. We are going to be crocheting on the first single crochet of every row. Okay, so the first stitch of the first row. Next stitch. Next stitch. So now we're going downwards on our V opening. Okay, next stitch, which is a decrease as well. See the 2 stitches that are being made together. Next stitch. Next stitch. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next stitch over here, and keep crocheting in the same exact way, 1 double crochet in each of the first single crochet of every row going downwards. Once I reach the V part down here, right over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet on this spot, and then off camera the rest of the V opening all around. I've completed crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch going downwards. Now the next stitch right over here is the last decrease that I worked in the first row of decreases, where I worked the 3 single crochet together. This stitch is the last stitch in which I worked the decrease. The next stitch over here is the first stitch of the first row of decreases of the left side. And this right here is the first decrease of the left side. So I want to put my hook in the last decrease that I worked on the right side. Grab the yarn, pull through 2, yarn over once. Do not put your hook in this stitch where we worked the last decrease of the right side, neither on this stitch as well. Put your hook on the first stitch that we worked the decreases on the left side. Grab the yarn, pull through 2. I have 3 loops in which I'm going to close together. And now start working 1 double crochet in every stitch going upwards. Okay, 1 double crochet in every stitch going upwards. 1 double crochet in each of the single crochet of the back. Once I reach here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I have completed crocheting all around, and now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the first double crochet for this row, which was the chain 3. So counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in that 3rd chain. Now chain 2, and we're going to keep crocheting in the same direction. What we're going to do now is we're going to work again the rib stitch, 1 front post and 1 back post. I'm going to work a little fast because we have already seen how to work the front posts and the back posts. So the first stitch is a front post, second stitch is a back post. First stitch is a front post, second stitch is a back post. Okay, so keep crocheting 1 front post and 1 back post all around. And this is where we just started on the back of our vest right here. So keep working one front post, one back post, going downwards. Now once I reach this spot down here on the V part of my V opening, I'm going to work on this stitch over here, which is either going to be a front post or a back post, and then I'm going to turn my video back on to work together. If you recall, we worked a decrease going from the right side to the left, and then we kept going upwards. This stitch we're going to work together, and then we're going to finish the row off camera. I have completed crocheting on the V opening, going downwards, the rib stitch, okay, the front posts and the back posts. Now the last stitch that I worked over here was a front post double crochet. Now what I want to do, those two stitches on the previous row, I worked them together as one stitch. So, and because the previous stitch was a front post, now this is going to be a back post. So I'm going to put my hook on, from the back to the front, on the right side of the right stitch, to the back again on the left side of the left stitch, okay? So what I'm really doing, I'm putting my hook from here to here, but from the back side. So from the back to the front on the right side of the right stitch, and bring it to the back again on the left side of the left stitch, and work your back post double crochet. And this is going to create a perfect V opening on our vest. Now the next stitch is going to be a front post. The next stitch is going to be a back post. So keep working the pattern, one front post, one back post, up until you finish crocheting. So keep going upwards, and then we're going to crochet back here our front post and our back posts. And right here on the last stitch, which is either going to be a front post or a back post, depending on the stitches you have, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I completed crocheting all around. My last stitch was a front post. Now I'm going to put my hook in the first stitch for this row, which is the 2 chains. So counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in that second chain, work your slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, and fasten off. Now let's see how our project looks like at this point where we are almost done. Okay, so let's see how our vest looks like. Of course, we're going to need to weave in all of these ends, but look how perfect this V opening looks like. The sleeves. Okay, and now right here in the bottom, because I want the bottom to match with the V opening and the sleeves, I'm going to work a few rows of the rib stitch as well. If you do not want to work the rib stitch in the bottom as well, you can leave it as it is. There's no problem at all. So let's see how to work the rib stitch in the bottom of our vest. Okay, so now we're going to work the rib stitch in the bottom of our project, and I do want my project to be on its good side, okay, but I have turned it on the back part, okay, because I want the scheme of the slip stitches that I'm going to be working on the back of my project, of my vest. So let's go ahead and start, and we're going to attach the yarn somewhere in the center. If you want, you can go ahead and count the stitches. I'm just going approximately. Okay, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and those 3 chains count as my first double crochet. Now the beginning foundation chain, this is where it's going to help us when we want to crochet on top of it, because each stitch is very clear and you can see exactly where you're going to put your crochet hook. Okay, so this was my first double crochet, and keep crocheting 1 double crochet in every stitch all around. So 1, next stitch, 2, Next one. 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep crocheting 1 double crochet all around. When you reach the seam where we joined the 2 sides of the vest, work a double crochet on here as well. Okay, keep crocheting on the front piece, 1 double crochet in every stitch. Again, 1 double crochet on top of the seam, and finish by working 1 double crochet in the last half of the back part of the vest. Once I reach here in the last stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work the rib part. I've completed working 1 double crochet in every stitch all around the bottom part of my vest. Now I'm going to work a slip stitch in the first stitch for this row, which was the chain 3. So put your hook in the 3rd chain, counting from the bottom to the top, slip stitch, chain 2, and I'm going to keep crocheting in the same direction. And we're going to work 1 front post, 1 back post, as we did on the V opening and on the sleeves as well. So grab your first stitch and work a front post, and I'm going fast because I'm crocheting the same exact way. Next stitch is a back post. Next stitch is a front post, double crochet. The next stitch is a back post. So keep crocheting 1 front post, 1 back post all around your vest. Once I reach right here in the last stitch, which is either going to be a front post or a back post, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish this row and how to start the next one. I have completed crocheting all around, and my last stitch was a front post double crochet. Now complete the row by working a slip stitch in the 2nd chain, counting from the bottom to the top. Okay, now in order to start the new row and every new row that you want to do from here on for the rib stitch, always chain 2 and keep the same direction of the stitches. What I mean is that since the first stitch was a front post double crochet, I'm going to work a front post double crochet in this row as well. The 2nd stitch is a back post double crochet, but the stitch is not that visible, so open up the stitches with your fingers so the stitch is visible, and work a back post double crochet. The next stitch was a front post, so I keep working a front post double crochet. The next stitch is a back post, so again the stitch isn't that visible, so if you're afraid that you're going to miss your stitch or you're going to misplace your crochet hook, open up the stitches and work a back post double crochet. So keep working 1 front post, 1 back post, and once you complete the row, again work a slip stitch in the 2nd chain, counting from the bottom to the top. And from there on, if you want to continue to work more rows of the rib stitch up until the desired width down here of your vest, you can keep on going and working extra rows. I'm going to work this row off camera and perhaps 1 more row, okay? Once I turn my video back on, we're going to see how the vest looks completed, and I'm going to mention how many rows in total I worked for the rib stitch. I have completed crocheting all around, and along with the row that we attached the yarn, okay, to start with in the bottom of our vest, I have worked a total of 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and in order to finish your project, chain 1 after the slip stitch, cut the yarn and fasten off, and our vest is completed. So let's see how it looks. Okay, so starting from the top, this is how it looks. The V opening, the sleeves, and going downwards, the rib stitch that we just worked. And this is how you can create a vest. You can follow the same steps for the V opening and the sleeves for all sizes, but as I mentioned in the video, if you're crocheting a children's size, just skip one of the decreases on the sleeves where we crochet the 3 single crochet together. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.